104. And this is Friday, August 25th. Let's call our special briefing to order. I'm gonna just turn it over to you guys. Take her away.
Sure. All right. Thank you again, commissioners. One more round. We've coined a new term, solid wasted. We've had a lot of solid waste this week, so not wasted efforts at all. But we're here to talk about a stopgap, right, between covering our hauling and our disposal services while we are currently negotiating a long-term haul and disposal process with Mason County Garbage. And presently we have a contract with Republic Services that expires on the 26th. Here we are, last hour. And we need to have a way of assuring that our solid waste is hauled and disposed of come Monday. And we have two proposals before you that both providers are willing, able to provide that service for a year with the potential to extend for 6 months. And Republic Services would do that through a mechanism of extending the existing contract that you have in place with them through an amendment. So this would be the 5th amendment or addendum to our existing contract. And the other proposal is from Mason County Garbage, and that would be, we looked at the potential for either amending our existing contract for their services that they provide under their Blue Box contract, or just to simply have a standalone agreement. And it was the recommendation to prepare a standalone agreement. So that's what you see before you. And they may have some slight differences, but the intent is basically to provide the same service, provide at the same rate, have the same provisions in terms of CPIU, and it is again a 1-year contract. So that's kind of a super high level overview of, and then the question will be before you commissioners to basically select a mechanism to bridge that gap while we continue and complete our negotiations. And happy to answer any detailed questions you may have about that.
Okay. Commissioners, do you want to start with questions? I do have a few. So I think the first question I would ask is, so if the negotiations were completed, they have to be completed by December 19th, right? 180 days.
We want to complete
Before?
the negotiations well prior to the 180-day firm price, yes. Yep.
Okay.
And we are requesting the board, so we had scheduled a hearing for next Tuesday and are asking the board to extend that to November 9th. So that's our expected conclusion date for our negotiations.
So, sorry. So we're extending our RFP process to November 9th to finalize the work that we've done.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yes.
I understand.
Yes.
Are you wanting that here on a Thursday?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mackenzie. Whatever, the 7th, whatever that date is. No, we've had enough
Tuesday.
special meetings.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
So that
No.
should probably, if a motion not right at the moment, commission does come up there, it should include that term.
Well, so we're having the hearing on Tuesday for that part of it.
Yes, that would be a separate.
So then we
So
will.
we continued our
Okay.
hearing from the beginning of August. We continued it to the 29th, which is Tuesday. And then at that point, the recommendation is gonna be to continue it
To the 7th.
to continue negotiations until
Okay, so
November
Tuesday.
7th.
Yeah. Separate issue.
Separate issue.
One's going
Yes,
on
but
it.
separate, yep. But that's just to give you a lay of the land and how negotiations are proceeding and to conclude.
Mhm.
So both companies are ready to go either way, with whoever we decide to go with.
Yeah, both companies have assured us that they have the equipment, drivers, facilities able to provide the services. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Commissioners?
Still sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, that was my big question, was readiness.
Mhm.
You know, obviously, there would be no transition required if we went with extension with Republic while we're negotiating with Waste Connections.
Right.
And just, you know, want to know that no matter what the decision that we make, that there's not going to be an interruption of service for our county residents who are utilizing
Yes.
the transfer stations. That's a big issue.
Yep. Yeah, and that's certainly something that during the special meeting, I'm sure that both folks would be willing to speak to about readiness.
And I think the other, just for clarity, I think you kind of touched on this a little bit, but the intent of this agreement that we're going to be considering today is not an opportunity for a second bite at the RFP process, or, I mean, we are down the path of negotiating with Waste Connections as the responsive bidder to our RFP, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So in the contract, just to clarify too, it says that we pay the contractor and the landfill separately, so that's just normal. That's,
Yeah, it's just a billing procedure. So rather than Cowlitz billing the contractor and then them in turn billing us, it's clean billing,
okay.
separate billing.
Commissioner Trask, I think the difference there is that, I mean, it's a little confusing in terms of who provides what service. So in the current contract with Republic, the long haul side of it is actually subcontracted through Waste Connections at this time. The trash is then transported over to the landfill in Eastern Washington, which is owned and operated by Republic. So we're paying Republic right now directly for both the hauling and the disposal because the disposal is in their landfill. With the contract that we're negotiating right now, we would be paying, they'd be disposing of our waste in the Cowlitz landfill. And so we would be paying Cowlitz for those landfill dump charges, and we would be paying Waste Connections / Mission County Garbage for the haul.
Okay, that makes sense.
And just for the public's knowledge, we did get notification from Republic if we were to go forward with this extension that they were going to be utilizing Brady Trucking at a certain point in time. And I'm not sure of the timeline associated with that. I believe they have to give us 90 days notice if they're going to change their subs. And so we've been told that Brady Trucking has the drivers and the equipment necessary to do that haul if they were to switch over.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Nellen, do you have questions?
I'm getting close to getting it all right with the different stuff. Because right now I'm also going over the RCWs, so just to make sure where we're at on this. Either way, on how this would go, what would the transition look like? Maybe we can hear that from.
I mean, right now, I don't see anything different for the first 90 days because Mason County Garbage is who's providing that current transport services out of our facilities for them. Well, so right now that either way, that's what would happen is they'd still do that at least for the first 90 days of any extension.
I'm sure you also have your recommendations. You might as well say them, so we have that to weigh up upon our decision makings.
Yeah, my thought is that we are in a better position to go with Mason County Garbage. That's where we're negotiating. The service provision to me would be essentially the same either way. We've had great service with Republic, great partners for 30 years. It's tough to say that, but I do feel that it's in the county's best interest at this point to move forward with an agreement with Mason County Garbage and continue our negotiations.
No, I would agree. I don't think you wanna lose the opportunity of the good favorable pricing we received out of this RFP process. So I think hopefully we could get our contract hammered out by early November and preserve that so we don't have to start over again.
And what would happen if that doesn't happen by November?
The price is no longer firm.
Yeah, it only has a 180-day life from June 22nd when we received it.
Well, that's if nothing changes in the contract. Once you change a contract, then the contract is up for negotiation all the way around. You don't change one line and everything else stays the same unless they agree, right?
Well, that's what we'd be negotiating for, the RFP price, right? And it's only good through December 19th. And then it's no longer a firm offer and could be at risk.
More questions?
I don't think I have any
And I
questions.
think it's worth noting that the difference in the responses that we received from the two vendors on the surface. So obviously we're negotiating out details of this contract currently with Waste Connections and ensuring that the county is protected and that it's understood how we're moving forward so that there's no things that come out of the blue down the road that would impact our price. But looking at just the prices that we received, the difference between the proposal from Waste Connections and Republic it's considerable difference. To the tune of $20 a ton, or equates to upwards of $1.78 million a year. And those additional costs would have to be placed on the citizens and on the entities that currently do that. And so from a price, it is in the best interest of the citizens of Mason County that they could get access to.
I think my biggest concern is that we do what's right for Mason County, that we don't interrupt service, that, our citizens are getting the same service that they've expected for years. So I just want to make sure that when we make this decision, we're I'll be using that as my guideline.
I think that's the reality.
That's my guideline.
I think that's the reality of it. I mean, I think, if we were in a different position, if we were further along in negotiations, I think we would probably be signing a 10-year agreement at this point, and not in a position to have to do a bridge. And I think in an effort to continue to negotiate in good faith, if we had a shorter extension offer from Republic that would honor that, the good faith negotiation that we have to engage in with the RFP process, it might be a little bit of a different conversation today, but, I think given those, just given kind of the reality of where the RFPs came in, the due diligence that you've been doing and have to continue to do, I'm not sure that there's another direction that we could go today. And that's, like you said, that's not a reflection on Republic as a partner for the past 30 years. That's not a reflection on any of that, other than just the hard reality of where we are with the responses that we got. We can't we have to work off of those. And so what people submit is what we use to evaluate, and we go through the process starting there. And I think, you know, just long-term, we have to be mindful of what those impacts are.
Whatever our decision is, I do want to say that Republic, you have been an exceptional partner. I went to battle with you when I first came in. I did, that's what I do. But you've been an exceptional partner over these years. And I want to let you know I very much appreciate it, regardless of what happens here.
Yeah,
Whatever
100%.
decision.
100%, yeah. I think when your memoir is released, the first section is gonna be called The Warriors.
Yeah.
The war
I don't know.
Everything had to change in the beginning, yeah.
Every story starts with,
Yeah.
you know,
There was a lot that
but
had to change.
hopefully in the latter stages, there's less of that, and
Yeah.
it's at least a little bit more enjoyable, at least some of the time.
Any other
Tim, anything
questions?
from you?
Nope,
Commissioners?
not that we haven't discussed.
Okay,
If there's no more discussion, I move adjournment until the meeting.
second,
All right, we're good.
Yes.
We'll see you at 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
All right.
Oh, I know. Speaking of. Well, good afternoon again. It is now 2 o'clock and we are having our special meeting. So we're gonna go ahead and call this to order. And Tim, could you lead us in the pledge? please?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tim. Let's move on to roll call.
Commissioner District 1, Randy Netherland.
I'm here.
Commissioner District 2, Kevin Schutte.
Here?
Commissioner District 3, Sharon Trask.
I'm here. Let's move on to item number 4, public comment. This is the time we set aside for public comment for anything that is not on the agenda. So, do we have anybody? Diedrich, do you have anything you want to say? Alrighty. And there's nobody in Zoom except for Mark, and we're not gonna let Mark comment. So, let's move on to item number 5. So this is for us to consider approval of 3 different issues or topics, items. A is Regional Services offer to extend the existing solid waste export services contract for an additional year by executing addendum number 5. B is Mason County Garbage Companies, Inc.'s offer to execute a new solid waste export service contract for 1 year at the county's current contract rate. Or C, potentially executing an amendment or agreement with one of the service vendors. So I'll ask staff to come forward and present
Madam Chair, isn't this technically an extension of the
briefing,
of the hearing?
of the,
This
This
is extension of the hearing.
It's a
Right.
previous special meeting. No.
Wasn't a hearing at all?
Nope.
I don't think so.
Because I thought the special meeting was the extension of the first hearing.
Special meeting was to execute the extension of for the year,
Okay,
yeah. I
So
believe,
the continuation of the hearing is
Oh,
on
yes.
Tuesday,
okay.
right,
2 separate.
All right, yeah, I'm with you.
Two
Okay.
paths.
I'm more comfortable now.
okay. Good, good.
We know what we're doing.
Some of you know what you're doing. I'm still learning.
All right, so this is just to bridge the gap between, and ask Loretta or Richard, either one of you to come forward.
Richard.
been doing this.
You need a new face.
Okay, new face.
New face.
Okay, I don't have my notes with me, we're
Yeah,
good.
that should be on.
All right. So, yeah, here's what we got going on. We have a contract that's set to expire on Saturday, tomorrow.
And so we've got a couple options to look at right now for the short term. 1-year extension, one with Republic Services to honor what's currently going on, and also, and that would be an amendment, number 5, to the current contract. Or we have another offer from Mason County Garbage that matches that, 99%, also for an additional year. Any questions?
Any questions?
No questions, but are we gonna have an opportunity to hear from both,
Yes,
Yeah.
respective
exactly.
contractors?
So,
Let's have Republic, our current vendor, come speak to their proposal, if that's okay with commissioners.
If you could state your name and who you're with?
Steve Gilmore, Republic Services. I'm a relationship manager for Republic. Based on, our longstanding relationship, and I think, Kevin's comments regarding, being able to negotiate in good faith, I think Loretta and I got our wires crossed a little bit in terms of communication. But we're willing to push our 1 year down to 6 months to allow the county to negotiate with Waste Connections in good faith. I think that's the least thing that we can do to be a partner. I think there are some ongoing conversations that need to happen with you folks during your negotiations, and I think having us continue to be your partner during that 6-month period, I think would be very valuable to the county.
A question?
I'm more of a thing, I'm a simple man, I only believe in things in writing. Would you mind initially
Sure,
the date to be considered?
I will do
That's
more
a
than.
change of a date right there.
Horrible signature.
Because I can't even consider it if it's not in writing.
And for the record, Randy, why don't you just read in whatever it is you have,
Okay.
so everybody.
All right. What I put in there changes on the addendum number 5 for solid waste export services from Mason County. The contract between county and contractor is amended as follows. The contract at 2024. That's the only change
To reflect the 6 months that Steve
that
was
he
talking
had
about.
mentioned, yeah.
And that's on the addendum 8, right?
And you can see it. Because it would be for the county
Right.
anyway. I just don't believe in, I appreciate offers, but they don't count if they're not right to me.
All right.
Well, it's a leap year next year. So there's 29 days.
28 still works, that's good sign.
Yeah. Of course it is next year, of course it is.
Of course it is.
Every 4 years.
That's why this year is this way. Would you guys like to speak?
I got something for you to sign too, just.
All right, well, good afternoon, Commissioners, and thanks for your time today on a Friday afternoon. I'll be brief because it is a beautiful Friday afternoon. As I shared on Wednesday when I was here at the special hearing, right? Or special meeting,
Yeah.
special meeting on Wednesday.
See?
We 3 benefits with transitioning to Mason County Garbage at this time, and today I'd like to share a fourth as well. So, number one, our Mason County Garbage has proven to be a competent and responsive service provider for the county, as demonstrated by our quality service provided in our current solid waste transportation agreement with the Blue Box and solid waste hauling, as well as the fact that we were the chosen RFP respondent. Secondly, Mason County Garbage is the local garbage company that's at the transfer station where this service is going to be provided. We're there many times per day. So I know there's questions that the commission wants to make sure that it's a seamless transition. And I would argue that not only would the transition be seamless because we have the equipment, the staffing, the trucks, but it's also going to immediately, I believe, enhance the level of service that the county receives because those services will be provided by the company that is at that site multiple times per day. Thirdly, the RFP date had, proclaimed a start date around August 23rd or so of this year. And so, since we had responded and interviewed and been having discussions with Loretta and the team, we've been preparing and ready to go at that time. So we're fully capable and ready to start those services right now. And we've made some investments, and we understand there has been no formal contract for the full 10-year RFP period, but we have been making investments in preparation for this date, so we would like to begin providing that service. And then finally, another consideration of the matter is Our proposal is, it's us, Mason County Garbage, and Chad White, the site manager that's here, that will be providing the service without any subcontractors. So I know the other vendor proposal, it would be working with a subcontracting trucking company, but one of the benefits of Mason County Garbage is if Richard or Kevin or Loretta or others or any of you have challenges, Chad's cell phone, his two supervisors, Tony and Keith's cell phones, etc., they're responsive and directly able to make changes immediately should there ever be anything that Richard or the team sees. So again, appreciate the opportunity to share today, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. So, Commissioners, any questions for staff or for anyone in the audience?
No.
No? All right. Well, Commissioner, deliberation or discussion or a motion?
What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the change in terms. I think, my preference from the beginning was to have as painless a transition as possible throughout this so that we can maintain a high level of service for our county residents. And I think, with the mindset being that we are going down this path to negotiate based on the RFP proposals that we received, the responses that we received. So appreciative of that, and I'm interested in hearing the other commissioners' thoughts, but I think that definitely moves us in a better direction than we were an hour ago.
Mm-hmm. And I'll agree with that, and I'm not one much for not saying things, so I want to say, I like to see things finalized on the other contract. We had some discussions 5 years ago through a process when it came to having the trucks and stuff like that. Personally, I respect everything you put together, but when we had that issue the last time, I don't forget that. So I'd like to make sure that we're set with all the equipment and everything before we enter in. I think you were there, I think you remember. Remember we had trucks that were supposed to have been delivered and they were out there in the yard, and I was one of the ones making the phone calls back then. I think it was on the internal contract. Yeah. So just remember, and I'd be more than happy to sit and talk to you about that. It's not gonna stop me from making a decision moving with you. I just need you to know that I still think about that stuff. And that's why for me, I like to have everything in writing no matter who it is. That's just how I've always been. And this way we can have the same expectations when it's in writing, because everybody's held accountable that way.
Okay.
But I just didn't wanna hide that film from you, so.
Yeah, I like the direction that we're heading. I feel more, gosh, I feel so short. I feel more comfortable in what we're doing. I'm not a person that likes waiting for the very last minute. It just drives me crazy. And so being able to make a good decision and having the time to make that decision is very, very important to me. So moving forward, I like that. I like the offer of the 6 months. I think that's a year. I think is way too long for an extension.
I would have preferred 3 months, but it is what it is for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because I think that, again, I can't emphasize this point enough. I think this is the critical point here, is that this isn't a bridge agreement to get us to another RFP process. This is a bridge agreement to maintain level of service, to continue negotiating a long-term contract that is complex. A lot of moving parts with a waste contract like this, and there are things that we have to do our due diligence on throughout that. And it's, I think, being able to give our team the runway that they need to be able to deliver a fair contract, but one that protects the interests of the county taxpayers is by far my top priority. And I think we have made good progress in the past couple of weeks with Waste Connections, and I don't expect that to change as we move forward, because I think that's the intent of the commission, is to see the RFP process through to a successful long-term contract. And so this is in no way a reflection on Waste Connections or the proposal that you made, or even Republic and the proposal they made. This is simply a stopgap measure that continues to provide service to the residents of the county while we go through our contracting process and really get those details hammered out.
And I'll agree with that, because your proposal is very good. There's just no way around it. It was a good, solid proposal. A few things I think need to be cleaned up on it, so to protect our citizens, to make sure there's no possibilities of future lawsuits or any other type of expenditure, so we clean up the contract. I don't see us going anywhere different than that. You've put together a real great one. And actually, it was not a hard decision after looking at them at that, because there's only so much you can do. So I want to go along with what you just said there. That I don't see it as being anything other than giving us the room to breathe while we finish what's already been done.
Yeah, and Richard and Loretta, I want to thank you too. And Mark, you guys have, and Tim, you guys have done amazing and wonderful work. Richard showed me some graphs today and shared information with me, and well, not just today, but throughout. And so I really appreciate your time and dedication and passion for Mason County. It's evident in the work that you guys do.
Well, I've been missing out. I didn't get to meet with Steve. I didn't get to see the graphs. I didn't get any of it. I was doing too many other things in the room, I guess. Madam Chair, I'm ready to make a motion if you'd like.
Yeah.
So, Madam Chair, I move that we accept item A, which is regional service offers to extend the existing solid waste export services contract for an additional 6 months as part of the initials on that other contract by executing addendum number 5 with that change in it.
Second.
All right, so we do have a motion and a second to approve the regional services offer to extend the existing solid waste export services contract for an additional 6 months as agreed to per the initials by executing addendum number 5. All right, any further discussion? All right.
No, just a quick thanks to everybody. I know these processes are difficult and uncomfortable, and because we are government, we have to have a lot of these conversations publicly, and it makes people sometimes shift in their seats a little bit or whatever. But I think ultimately, just appreciate the effort and patience and commitment to our county. Thank you.
All right. Anything else? I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
Madam Chair, move we adjourn.
Second.
All right. We're adjourned.
If you guys would like to come and talk to me sometime, we can go over some of that stuff and see exactly where I'm coming from and stuff, but my door's always open.